What's up, media heads? Yeah, that's right. I made a name for you guys now. Media heads. I think someone's already using it, but I don't know. Anyway, welcome. That's right. We are back. Um, as you may have seen, posted some awesome videos yesterday. Just got back from my Horror Nights, Halloween Horror Nights 32 trip at Universal Orlando. So I thought I would hop on, give you my review about the event, give you my review for the houses, and of course, show you the merchandise that I got. As you could see, I am rocking some Horror Nights merchandise right now, including this awesome Little Boo light up lanyard. So as you see, he lights up, and then the lanyard itself actually lights up. So I saw a lot of people getting this, so I was like, yeah, I wanted one of those. And then, as the first shirt that I'm wearing, I am wearing what is considered like the icon shirt. So now this has representatives from each of the houses, or some of the houses, like the main intellectual properties that are represented this year. So we got Chucky, Vecna, and Eleven. Now this is representing the Exorcist Believer. We got Phantom of the Opera representing Universal Monsters, and a Clicker representing The Last of Us. And then at the bottom it says Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights 2023. And at the top it says Never Go Alone. So that's just two pieces of the merchandise. So before we continue getting into the rest of the merchandise, let us dive in and break down my ratings. Now, when it comes to me walking through a Halloween Horror Nights house, if I walk through a house and I'm just like absolutely in awe by the sets, costumes, but I don't really get a scream out of me, it's probably due to the fact that I probably just missed the screams that night or at that time and need to give it another go. Either that or just the house wasn't really that good, but I was still just blown away by how beautiful it looked. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and go off um, with my ratings. Going ahead, starting off with Chucky Ultimate Kill Count. This was an amazing house. A lot of it was animatronics, but there were some good scenes. I think the house was supposed to be like strictly based off of the Sci-Fi USA and now Peacock TV series, but I believe it got pulled. So they just said, okay, look, we got the property, so let's go ahead and do something with it. Um, it was okay. Only went through it once, but I gave it a 7.5 out of 10 rating. Moving on to one of the most heavenly, um, hopeful houses this year, and boy, did it knock out of the park. It was an amazing house. It was fantastic. The sets, the scares, the actors. I'm talking about Naughty Dog and PlayStation's The Last of Us. Uh, boy, what an amazing house this was. Right from when you enter, you got The Last of Us key art that Universal was using um, on one of the parade buildings, and this was a long house. The scares were amazing. The scare actors did a fantastic job that were portraying the clickers and the bloaters. At like one point, there's this scare, and they have a bloater actually start walking towards you. And it's like, oh my god, they're gonna touch me. They don't touch you. They can't touch you. It's one of their big rules. They're not allowed to touch you. You can't touch them. Simple as that. So, and then at like the first night I went through it, on like both sides there were two clickers like scaring the crap out of me. So because of how beautiful the house was, and the sets and the scares, it gets the first Super 10 of the night. Next, we go into the next biggest house that everyone was excited for, and that is Stranger Things season 4, which was known as the most scariest season of Stranger Things yet, and they did an absolute fantastic job. I'm not trying to really give spoilers, but anyone that did experience the event, you know what happens. If you don't, big whoop. I might give spoilers, who cares? Um, you start out the house walking into Eddie's trailer, and outside you see a projection of Christy being, brought up by Vecna, and it starts out with the iconic "Christy, wake up!" So it was really cool. A lot of people were excited to see Stranger Things make its grand return to Halloween Horror Nights, and it came back in an amazing way. The only thing that I will say that was kind of upsetting was they do have the Master of Puppets scene where Eddie and Dustin are outside fighting the demo bats and everything. But the only sad part is Universal didn't get the rights to use Master of Puppets, and they didn't give Eddie a guitar. So you see him just bare-fisted and everything, and there's a giant screen, and it's like there wasn't really much going on. It seemed kind of empty, but overall, it was an amazing house. Give it a 9.5 out of 10. We then move on to Exorcist Believer. Now, what was cool about this is that it is based on the Exorcist property, but it's an entirely retelling of The Exorcist. It's not a spiritual sequel. It's kind of like I guess you could say a remake, but it's going down an entirely different path. This time, instead of having one main character that's being possessed, they take the lives of two girls that is possessed by this doll that has three eyes, and they get lost in the woods, and they haven't been back in over a course of a couple months, and they've been missing, and then all of a sudden, chaos ensues. What was cool is because it's based on a trailer, Blumhouse basically sent a script to Universal and was like, okay, here's what you can use in the house, and here's what we don't want you to show in the house. Obviously, they don't want to spoil the movie and what happens, but there was some really odd smells in this house, and especially with The Exorcist, with a movie that happens in one location, and the team at Halloween Horror Nights and Universal were hit with this challenge in 2017. No, sorry, 2016, when the Exorcist property was first used. And it's like it takes place in one room, so how are we supposed to do that? And they make that challenge be executed perfectly. As you're walking through the house, you'll see exactly what they do and how they make it possible. So it was really amazing, and they got like some water effects because there's like holy water and everything. I went ahead and I gave this one just a nice solid 10. Had some good scares, but I felt like it could have used a little bit more. And then we move into the last intellectual property. Even though they kind of note it as an original, it is what started the whole horror genre, and it is the Universal Monsters property. Now, since 2019, Universal has been using their monsters as house icons. The one in 2019 was absolutely amazing. And then in 2021, they used The Bride of Frankenstein, and then last year they used Dracula, The Mummy, and The Wolfman, and this year they did Universal Monsters Unmasked, which featured The Invisible Man, The Phantom of the Opera, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Let me just tell you something. You enter this house when it's still daylight out, it is pitch black. The facade of the house is one of the parade buildings where I believe the Universal Monsters has been over the past couple of years. They've been using the same parade building off to the side of Hard Rock. If you know the location, the entrance is always by ET. Um, this was amazing. The Once you enter inside, you see like this bridge, and it leads into a catacomb. And basically, you don't know if you're like going right to it, but then there's a little side entrance off to the side, and you got a policeman on the top warning you, don't go in there, gather your kids and family, leave, escape while you still can. And it's broken down into each section of the monsters. You first encounter, of course, the Phantom, then you encounter the Invisible Man, then it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and then it's Hunchback. And then at the end, you're getting scared to scare to scare by all four of them. And oh my god, this house was amazing. The scares were great, the sets were fantastic. I have to give it the second Super 10 of the event. Now we're moving into the originals, and boy, did Universal knock it out of the park this year with the originals. Some were good, while some could have been just a tad bit better, but overall, they were fantastic for the event this year. Dark as Steel is an amazing inspiration of like Devil Went Down to Georgia, where this blues singer, Pinewood Spruce, just wants to be the greatest blues singer in the world and, be on the stage and bring smiles to everybody. Well, one night he comes face to face with a man known as the Collector, and he accidentally sells his soul to be the greatest blues performer ever. And you go through his journey to encountering with the Collector, and there's an amazing scene at the end. So this had some great smells, some great sets. It was kind of claustrophobic, but overall it was just really amazing. The scares were great. Third Super 10 of the event. Next we move on to Dueling Dragons Choose Thy Fate. A long time ago at Islands of Adventure, there used to be a wonderful blue and red roller coaster by the name of Dueling Dragons. In 2010, the coaster got rethemed and rechanged in accordance with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and became part as Dragon Challenge, where you chose between the Hungarian Horntail and the Chinese Fireball. But back in the day, this wonderful coaster gave medieval fans the opportunity to challenge on the Fire Dragon or the Ice Dragon, as Merlin was turned into a enchanted tavern, and the battle for his spellbook was raged out between two wizards, Pyrock and Fyrock. This house was absolute nostalgia to the T. Great scares, great sets, great costumes, and you basically were walking through like the queue line of the attraction. And then what really gave it its life was at the end, you were given two paths to choose the outcome. In a total, there were 4 endings to the house. I only went through it once. I chose the fire side. I kind of wish I went back and chose the ice side, but overall the house was good. Went ahead and gave it an amazing 9.5. Next, we move on to Yeti Campground Kills. Now, sadly, I never got to experience the first Yeti house, Terror of the Yukon, in 2019, but this was basically the comedy house this year. But it was also kind of dark, where Chucky was also mainly the comedy house this year. Great scares with amazing smells and set pieces and great effects. Went ahead and gave it a super 10 as well. Next, we look at Blood Moon Dark Offerings. Basically, this parish town is having some issues with their crops. So they said that there's a false hearted that wasn't like making the land grow. So they basically sacrificed people to the blood moon, and it was absolutely Horror Nights justice, where it was gory and the sets were amazing. Um, because of that, again, another amazing Super 10 rated house. And now we get to our final house of the event. This one was all dedicated to our icon of the event, Dr. Oddfellow. Basically, you enter a Dust Bowl era circus after hours under the bleachers, and Dr. Oddfellow is like, okay, you want to see what my circus is really like? Come on in. And it's basically a freak show gone wild. You see Dr. Oddfellow offering his elixir of life, and it was just an absolute amazing fun house to the T. I'm going to go ahead and change my rating from a 9 to a 10. This house was really good. Each of the scare zones this year was really good. Didn't really get a lot of scares from them, so the ratings are just based on how they looked, how the costumes looked, and gonna be really quick fire. Dr. Oddfellow's collection of horrors, I give it a super 10. Every night me and my dad went to the event. We saw Dr. Oddfellow. He remembered our names. It was always fun talking to him. Next we go into Dark Zodiac. This was in the Hollywood section of the park. All the zodiac signs were twisted. So I got to see my zodiac creature, which is Sagittarius. So that was really cool. A super 10 as well. Jungle of Doom Expedition Horror. This one was cool as well. This was in the Central Park section. A lot of amazing costumes in this. There was like a plane, a parachute, and these hanging bats. Went ahead and gave this one a 9. And then we go to Vamp 69. This is the third chapter in the Vampire Scare Zone stories. This was amazing. Great music, great hippie costumes and everything. Another super 10. And then our last one, Shipyard 32 Horrors Unhinged. Went ahead and gave this one an 8. I don't really like the scare zones over by the San Francisco area. Reason being, it's very tight and it gets really crowded. So I feel like the scare actors don't really get to perform that well over there. But nonetheless, it was okay. And then the only show that they had this year was Nightmare Fuel Revenge Dream. And oh my god, the magic, the aerobatics that they did, this was just amazing. It was hot in the figural sense and the sexual sense. So that got a super 10 out of me as well. Alright, so there's the house ratings. There you go. Now, gonna go into showcasing merchandise. So, of course, right over here, first of all, we have the house shirt for this year. Love like that Ouija board psychic look. It's the first time in a long time that all the houses are actually on the back of the shirt. And then you have the Halloween Horror Nights 2023 logo on the front. We have our map this year, which is being represented by Stranger Things 4. And then at the bottom it says The Exorcist, Stranger Things, and The Last of Us. And go open it up, get a preview of some of the food, and then the actual map itself. And then this is really cool. Inside the Tribute Store, the Tribute Store this year was deemed to a comic book shop. So they had they made comic books for the store this year. So this is the second one that they came out with. The first one was like a red cover. So this one was really cool. They actually have a bunch of like Easter eggs, a scratch and sniff to smell what HHN fog smells like. So, and then we got a little bag of stuff here. So first going in, we have the main event pin for this year. We have this awesome giant Chucky pin, which comes in this cool box. We have the Little Boo and Friends pin. We have the Artist Series pin this year, which is representing Chucky. We have the Chucky lanyard. Trying to show you guys the other side. Next up, we have the main event lanyard, which is like the Curious Curiosities lanyard. I met Taylor and Sarah from Coaster Studios while I was out there, so they gave me a like a stretchy bracelet. Met some people that gave me a friendship bracelet this year, because these were all the rage this year with Horror Nights. Met some people from Thrill Geek, so this was their button this year. And then we have the annual pass holder pin, which was represented by, come on, focus, there we go, which was represented by Dueling Dragons. And then we have the coins, the medallions this year that were in the Tribute Store at the end. So you have a Chucky one, a Little Boo, the Hellfire Club, and Vecna. So there you have it, folks. That's my experience and my review for Halloween Horror Nights this year. Now, I am going to be getting more Halloween Horror Nights merchandise soon. I don't know when, but my Halloween Horror Nights shopping has not come to an end. But let me know down in the comments if you're going to go experience Halloween Horror Nights this year. Thank you very much for checking out this video. Don't forget, Halloween Horror Nights 2023 is still going on select nights, starting on Wednesdays all the way until November 4th at Universal Orlando Resort, Universal Studios Hollywood, and Universal Studios Japan. For more information, go to www.halloweenhorrornights.com or go to universalorlando.com/horror nights or Universal Studios Hollywood/horror nights. Thank you very much for checking out today's video, and I'll see you all next time